this province to U.S. states. That sparked an indignant reaction from President Trump. Our guest says that we have an urgent need in this country to overhaul our system of delivering electricity to make it efficient. A bit of shock therapy, if you like. We are joined by climate policy and electrification expert Bruce Lourie, president of the Ivey Foundation and chair of the Transition Accelerator non-government organization. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Bruce.
Great. Thank you, Andrew.
Your focus right now, or one particular point of frustration for you, is that the provinces administer their own electricity system, or at least oversee the distribution, and there are a bunch of fiefs across the country. We were wasting money by not having them connected better?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically, as you say, we've got a bunch of electricity fiefdoms across the country. They're very siloed, very isolated. We have minimal transmission interties. And what we're really lacking is coordinated planning for our electricity system.
There have been efforts here to try to improve the interconnections of the electricity system. But you say you question the role of the federal government here. You wonder if it even has a contribution to make?
Yeah, well, certainly that's, one of the constitutional challenges that we have in this country is electricity is provincial jurisdiction. But it's been defined very narrowly for many, many years by the provinces. In fact, it's mandated by most of the provinces that they can't even look outside their own borders. And basically, they produce electricity for the people in their province, and that's what they do. Where this has become a problem is that there are huge benefits to the ratepayers and consumers in each province if we had larger regional planning bodies, if we coordinated electricity across larger areas, and if we allowed electrons to flow more freely across provincial boundaries. And so we need to get out of what I call this stupor in this country and really focus on how do we make a broader, more coordinated electricity network work.
So we just have had stupor, a torpor. There's no real vested interest in the industry. You just don't want to change?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm optimistic that it will change and it can change. And quite frankly, with the the American tariff attack on Canada, it really has to change. And we should have, sadly, I've been talking to the federal government for years about this. Where they do have a role is they can set the table, they can invite people, they can, provide financial support to, build transmission interties. There is somewhat of a role there. But fundamentally, this has to come out of the regions. The federal government can't tell the provinces that they should work together. The provinces have to see the benefits of them working together. And there are huge benefits for, Western regional coordination, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba working together, the Maritimes working more closely together. And what it'll ultimately mean is lower electricity rates for everybody. We'll be able to decarbonize electricity systems faster. There won't be so much redundancy in building supply. And frankly, Canada is an outlier in the world. Most other G7 countries and Western countries have these much larger energy market operators or energy market bodies that coordinate, and they do a good job.
I'm reminded of the fact that we have a securities regulator in every single province. These little bailiwicks don't like to give up their power, it seems.
Yeah, no, and that is absolutely the problem. So the barrier here is politics, 100%. And we need to get the politicians, frankly, to recognize that it's in the best interest of their citizens to do this. So rather than being in the best interest of the politicians to control the system, they need to let go, give it up. And it doesn't mean completely letting go of having jurisdiction over your electricity system. All I'm talking about is having is creating some kind of a system of, large coordinated planning bodies that look at, 20-year horizons to manage infrastructure, to manage investment, to coordinate the development of resources in the best regions possible, and to look at transmission investments across those regions from a larger perspective. Doing it province by province, frankly, is ridiculous. It's costly. It just doesn't make sense.
Now, you talk about Alberta. Alberta has a different system, a much less regulated system for electricity. Prices can swing around. But Alberta, when it needs it, doesn't bring in cheap electricity from other provinces?
No, yeah, there's no upside to a company in Alberta, and this is, really when you have a deregulated system, de facto it's run by private corporations, and with very, very light regulation, and so and at the end of the day, the most expensive electricity in all of Canada. So you've got British Columbia right next door, more decarbonized electricity, more less expensive electricity. But basically, the private sector players in Alberta would be undercut by British Columbia's, cleaner, less expensive electricity, and they don't want that. So the profit motivation and creating systems that are private monopolies is really the worst way to go. What we need to see, I'm a big fan of competition, but basically Alberta's created in the same way that Texas has, an insular market to protect their own businesses. And what it's doing is it's created a system that is less reliable, more likely to be facing brownouts or blackouts, less resilient, and more expensive and less decarbonized. Like everything about it is worse than the other systems around it.
So, Bruce, just to clarify, there really is limited interconnection between our provincial electricity systems. It seems amazing.
Yeah. We have a little bit of interconnection, mostly around reliability and balancing systems. But the bulk of our electricity flow goes north-south, and that's very simply for economic reasons. We can sell electricity more cheaply into the U.S. market because Canadian electricity is much cheaper. And there's never really been the incentive to want to do, east-west interties.
Bruce, thank you very much indeed.